Although summer just started, we're already thinking about bats and spooky things. That's right, it's June-O-Ween, hosted by my good friend, Indiana Jones. Hi, this is Debbie from Blossomere Creativity. Let's jump right into this. Halloween cake number 1. So I have this black clay and I had a bunch of lumps in it, and I was getting ready to throw it away, but I thought, why not transform it? I saw a girl on Facebook, and what she did was she took some clay she was going to throw away and put it in a bowl with some Mod Podge and just kept whipping the 2 ingredients until she got a good texture. Okay, so here I am using that black clay, and I'm covering the bottom of my box. This came from the Dollar Tree, and I simply wrapped my base with plastic so that I didn't get this all over the place while it dried. So once I have the look I wanted, and you can still see there's some pieces of that hard clay in there, but I thought it gave a good look, and here it is dry. So once you have your dry, now I'm making a 2-layer cake. I have these molds that I got from Temu, and I'm making the drip, as you can see in the example that I showed you. So I'm just taking the pink clay that came from Glitz and Glue Air Foam Dry Clay. You can get that on Amazon. And I'm just simply filling in my little molds. Now the trick to this is you've got to put something in there so that you can release it, and I used some spray oil. And then you saw that I used my little paintbrush to get all inside the crevices. And so you got to make sure you hit every surface inside, or that clay is not going to come out. I tried it a couple times off camera, and it was really hard to release. So I got the right consistency of the oil, and then I didn't have any problems. So here I'm just showing you, I'm slowly unwrapping and just helping it a little bit with my finger on the tips, just to unroll it. So it is quite difficult in the beginning, but once you get the hang of it, it works out pretty good. So here I'm just showing you how I unroll it, and then I just straighten that out, and it's clay, so it's pretty flexible. Then I just have that little clay tool, and I'm just trying to smooth out the edges. Alright, so now I'm going to just use these 2 pieces that I had already dried, and I didn't want to waste them, so I thought, let me just use them. So here I need to attach 2 pieces to make the complete round. So I just snipped off a piece of the edge and made sure that I was going to join up well once I put it on the little round. So here I'm going to go ahead and attach this with some glue. Now if you do this right away when your clay is still wet, you don't really need to put the glue on, but because both the drip and the cake round was already dry, I needed to adhere it with the glue. So now that you have it on, and then you make sure your drips are straight, I went ahead and put the second piece on, and once I did that, I realized that it still was a little short. So because this is clay, you can, it's pretty flexible still, even once it's dry. So I just slowly pulled it apart, and not pulled it apart, but just stretched it so that it would meet the other end. And once I was happy with that, I put some more glue on that, and then I attached it, just making sure that all of my drips are attached firmly. And here I am just putting the last bit of glue on, and then once I bring the 2 edges together, you're going to see that there's like a little gap, and so I need to fill that in. And if you remember, I cut a piece off in the beginning, so I'm just going to reuse that just to fill in that little gap. And you'll see how I fix that later on, and you can't even tell. Now let's talk about our beautiful host, Indiana Jones. And she's hosting this June-O-Ween She does it every year. She's so creative. I just love her. And you got to go check out her page because she is so awesome, phenomenal. She even has a Halloween spell book done for a project. Let's continue on. Okay, so now we need to put that top piece on, and I'm just simply rolling out some more of that pink clay. I want to keep the colors consistent, and I'm just using a round cookie cutter. I didn't have a larger one, so I had to just help it out a little bit, rolling the clay out a little bit more. And then I'm going to attach the edges to the drip, and then I realized that I didn't put my glue down, so I just pulled that edge back up. Now remember, the drip is dry, so if the drip was clay that I had just rolled out, I would not need to put any glue at the edges. But one is dry and one is not. So here I need to hide that seam, and so I'm going to put some tacky glue on, and I started off with a little bit of glitter, and I realized that needs more. So I have these sprinkles that I had made up. They're a combination of lots of different sprinkles that I had in my stash, and so I just made this little mix, and now I am applying that to the edge of the cake, just where the two pieces meet, and this hides that very well. Now I don't know if I showed you before, but once these items were dry, I did put a layer of glue, and on this bigger one I used Elmer's glue to cover it, but it did have a little bit of white residue. So on the second one here, I'm showing you that I'm using that white clear glue. All right, so this is going to be my top, so I want to make sure that I get enough glue to add some glitter. And I'm using two different kinds. One is from Glitz and Glue, and the other, actually there's three, and the other one is like a black, and then I put some white clear glitter. And then on the base one, I'm just putting some white glitter just to give it some sparkle. Now to display it, I took the top of the larger box that you will see later on. So instead of just gluing the cake to the base, I went ahead and punched a hole through the top, and we used a pipe cleaner to attach it to the base. This just gave it a more secured way of attaching for storage purposes. So I used this paper from Hobby Lobby, and I just simply glued it on to the base, and then I went ahead and just painted the rest of it black. And you're not going to see the little holes I made in the top because you're going to have a second layer covering that. All right, so now that I have the bottom layer complete, now let's attach the top to the second layer. And I'm using the method of clay and Mod Podge again to make a mixture. And here I am just going to go ahead and give a decorative little feel to the bottom where it attaches to the box lid, because there's like a little gap, so I want to cover that up. So I am going to first go ahead and do a couple rounds on the bottom, and this was quite loose, so it didn't hold up as the way I thought it should, but it's okay. It turned out really good. And then here I am trying to attach the top piece to the bottom piece, and I'm using the clay mixture that I made as a glue. And because it's the same color clay that I used, once it dries, it'll all be the same color, so you will not be able to tell the difference. You'll only see that the texture is a little bit different. So once I have everything glued up, then I'm just going to add a little bit of glitter to that wet mixture that I created. And again, it's just in a piping bag, and it gives me a little bit more freedom to use it. I could use it as a drip. That's actually what it should have been, because it's really, really loose. Or you can make it a little bit thicker and use a piping tip. And then there you go. And then I made these little ghosts, and my video is way too long, so I wasn't able to add them to this video. But if you come back tomorrow, you will see a video of how I made this ghost and another ghost that you'll see later on. So I'm just adding a little piece of toothpick to the bottom, and then just simply sticking it in, because remember that clay is still wet on the very top. And then I just put a little bit of glue and then attach it, and you'll see that in the final reveal. So here is cake number 2, and I did the same thing with the cake base, and now I'm going to make a different kind of drip. This one actually is called a splat, and I'm using that same foam clay, and now I have a cutter, and this one is going to make a big splat for this bigger cake. It was just way too large for the smaller cake, so I use that different drip silicone mold. So this one is plastic, and so once you it was a little tough to get out, but this is before I found out about using the oil on the cutters and the molds. So here I am just trying to get it off my mat, because it gets really stuck. And you see it's pretty fat, and you want the clay to be a thicker consistency, because if you roll it out way too thin, then it will curl up on you. So here I'm just trying to get some of those imperfections out from me trying to get it up off the mat. And then I'm just trying to roll it out a little bit larger, because I didn't think it would fit. So now I have my cake base, and I put a piece of plastic on it first to just try it out, because I don't want it to get stuck until I'm ready. And I know that I need it a little bit larger to fit around the diameter of the top of the cake. So here I am just trying to check it out, and now I'm just going to roll it just a little bit more. And then when I do that, I do distort it, so just take your time. I was in a hurry, and so I did mush down some areas that I shouldn't have. So once I get the size that I want, then I'm going to go ahead and put it back on my cake. All right, so I'm happy with the size. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on the top, because remember, this cake base is already completely dry, and I just want to make sure that it's going to adhere. It probably would, because it's wet, but I just don't want to take any chances that it bubbles up inside. So I'm putting some glue on the clay as well, just trying to be super careful how I'm going to flip this. I used my paintbrush to help me, and once I get it on, now I'm just going to attach it, just pressing it down, making sure all the edges are firmly attached, and making sure that the drips are going downwards instead of off to the side or crazy looking ways. All right, once I'm happy with the look, now I'm going to go ahead and seal it. And you really need to seal this clay, because if you don't, it will crack on you. So you can seal it with the clear glue. You can use Elmer's glue, any kind of medium that you want, just to make sure that it seals. And then I'm going to go ahead and glitter it up, and using the same colors that I used on the previous cakes, because they're similar but not exact, but I still want them to be in the same color tones. So I started off with a little clear, and then I went to this, I think it's like a Halloween color. It's like a black purple, and then I used some disco pink which kind of looks like a purple. And you'll see, I'll just take a picture at the end so you guys can see what colors they are. But it looks really cool on the pink, and I love the pink and black look for Halloween. And then at the end I use some diamond dust just to give it some little sparkle, and I didn't want to glitter up the base. I wanted it to be a flat black. So I didn't do anything to the base itself. Then I had these table scatter. I believe it came from probably Dollar Tree. I don't know, it's from last year. I had it in my stash. And so it has a witch and bats, and it has ghosts and pumpkins, but the pumpkins were orange and I wanted to stay with the black and pink. So I just used the witch and the bats on that. So that was the first time I used that splatter, so I didn't do such a great job on it, but I will get better. And then I found these silver spiders, and I thought that would be a cute addition as well. Now for the final reveal. Now you don't see me show you how to make these ghosts, but if you come back tomorrow, I'm going to have a short video on how I made both styles of ghost so that you can make them in your Halloween display. They were super fun to make. So I hope you guys like my cakes. I think they turned out pretty cute. I'm loving the pink and the black, and I'm gonna do a display of just pink and black items, and then I'll do a traditional like the oranges and the blacks display as well. So keep coming back. I'm already in the mood for lots of Halloween, and maybe some Christmas is coming soon. Thank you all for stopping by and seeing what I created today. And make sure you go and check out the playlist and see all of the other wonderful creators and how they created June-O-Ween projects.